My name is Chef David Wheatley. I'm an instructor here at Sullivan University. Today I'm going to break down flatfish, round fish, break down the chicken in two different ways, something that we teach in the basic skills class here. I'm going to start off today with the flatfish. Okay. One unique thing about this particular flatfish, it is a Dover sole, a true Dover sole, and the skin will actually peel off of this particular fish, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. I'm going to make a little notch right here at the tail. I don't want to cut the tail off. I just want to kind of get that skin loose. Okay. Give me a wipe to help me grab a hold of it. Just want to make sure I get it all the way out to the tail fin. Okay. Important so when I pull this off, the skin all comes off in one strip. Okay. I'm going to get a hold of this, start to pull. Put a little pressure on the fillet itself, but not a lot. It's a delicate fish, so I don't want to take a chance on mashing the fillet. It'll come all the way off to the head. Okay. What I'm going to do is flip it over and do the other side as well. Okay. Little notch on the tail. Again, not to cut the tail off. Just kind of expose the skin so I can get a hold of it. There are still scales on these particular fish because they're difficult to scale because the scales are so small. So something to be cautious of when you're doing this so you don't get a lot of scales all over the place when you're pulling the skin off. Okay. All right, so grab that skin again. Start pulling back gently, holding a little pressure on the fish. So I pull back. All the way to the head. The skin obviously would be trash, nothing would be used for. Okay. Little wipe down on my table so I get some of the scales off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, it's got two fillets on the top, and then two fillets, this is the top, on the top, two on the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to run right down the spine, all the way to the tail. Start from the head all the way down until I get down to the ribs. Put my knife a little bit of an angle, and then it's going to take one nice stroke all the way down. All right, the idea is to make long, consistent strokes, so I'm not potentially hacking up my fillet by doing short, jagged movements. Okay. All the way down until I get to this roe sack that's right here, this little purple piece I'll show you. Just going to kind of cut right over top of that. Okay. To the end. All right. Then I'll have my first fillet right there. All right. Same with the other side. Going to come up to the top. One long, even stroke all the way to the tail. Then I use my hand to kind of lift this as I cut through there. It helps me to get the meat again out of my way, so I have a nice, smooth, finished fillet at the end. Okay. All right. Fillet number two. So then you can see the actual ribs right here that run this direction. Spine right down the middle. Really no meat on the bone. Nice and clean. I'm going to flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, start from the head. Work down that spine until I can feel that I'm into the rib bones. One long, continuous stroke. Again, lifting it up as I go. So my knife is actually gliding right along the rib cage. So I'm not doing a lot of work. I'm just a little bit of pressure, and the fish is actually filleting itself almost. I do want to be gentle when I'm lifting this fillet, again, because it's very delicate. It can bruise very easily, and I don't want that. Would not be a good finished product. Okay. And number 3. Same thing here. Start at the base of the head, right down that spine. Long, even strokes. The bottom fillet, which is this fillet, is obviously going to be a little shorter because of the gut sac that sits right in here. So I have to kind of go around that. So it gives me a shorter fillet, which is fine. Still nice, delicate cut. Okay. Over top of that roe sac there. That up. Okay. Third fillet. You can see this here is the actual egg sac. Most Dover sole that I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot, always have a roe sac in it. Okay, so I can just kind of show you that there. But you can see the bones are nice and clean. There's no meat left on the bone. Then what I would do is come here, make a little incision right behind the head, pull this off. It will pull any excess guts that are in there, and sometimes that roe sac as well. All right, this would be trash. All right. Get this roe sac out of here. Usually just peels right off. And then this would be used for stocks. So a nice clean carcass. Okay. Usually we would just bend this over. Easier access in the pan. Okay? So a finished filleted flatfish. Clean off my board a little bit here. I'm going to go into the round fish next. Okay. Little sanitation liquid. Sanitation, very important when you're talking about fish. Any proteins. I'll use a different cutting board for my chicken, but a good sanitize on this will be fine since I'm still working with a fish protein. All right. Put ice back on here. All right, now we'll bring out the round fish. So you can see this particular fish has 2 fillets. So this fish would swim this way, okay? So I'm going to fillet the top side, flip it over, fillet this side, then I'll take the rib cage out. All right. This has been scaled. I've scaled it ahead of time because these scales are fairly large. When you scale this fish, it will go all over the place. So I want to kind of eliminate that part. So I'm going to pick up this dorsal fin right here, or this pectoral fin. Take my knife and go right underneath it, right? Go all the way up to the head so I get a nice clean cut all the way down. Then I'm going to turn my knife, lift up this belly, my blade comes out, right? And then I'm just going to follow that spine, right? Watching the tip of my knife, I don't jab anything, right across that dorsal fin, okay? I'm cutting through some of those rib bones, so it's a little stiff there, but that's all right. We're going to cut those out. All right. All the way down to that bottom fin. All right, nice. All the way out to the tail. Flip this fillet over. Okay. I'll come back to that. Lay this fish over and do the same thing. Pick up this fin. Go to the head, all the way down to the belly. Okay. Lift that belly up a little bit. Same process. I'm going to get my knife into there, right down to that spine. It's going to work down that spine. You can kind of hear those bones popping, which is fine. We're going to trim all that off when we get this filleted out. Okay. Not too much pressure on the fish while I'm filleting it because it is delicate. Don't want to smash it. Okay, all the way to the end. All right. This I would do the same thing. Little pressure. Cut the head off of this. The head there. All right. This would go into our stock. Okay. Now I'm going to skin these fillets and take off the rib cage. All right, so you can see this is the belly, some of the belly fat. Not really good for anything, so I'm going to cut this off as well. The rib cage part is right here. So I'm just going to take my knife right on the top side of that rib cage. All right, kind of fillet down to that belly meat. Okay. Once I get down there, it's a nice smooth cut off of there. All right. Come back to that, do this one. Same process, get right behind them rib bones. A little bit of angle downward. Pulling it back. Nice smooth cut off of there. All right, and then from this point I want to get the skin off. All right, so I'm going to make sure my board is at the edge of the table. Okay. So when my knife is going through this fillet, my hand's outside the board and it's not here where I'm trying to get a nice flat fillet. I'm going to notch the skin just a little bit so I can get a hold of it with my finger. Get a hold of the skin. Turn my knife underneath here. Just hold the skin lightly and let the knife just kind of do the work. Okay, I'm just following the fillet as I go. I'm not forcing it. Not any kind of sawing motion, just this nice smooth cut through the fillet. Okay. You have the first fillet there. Fold the skin up. Same thing to this side. Get a little bit of that off the bottom there. Get my finger on it. This nice easy motion across there. I want to stay a little bit above the skin so I don't get all of that meat on the skin, so I kind of eliminate some of that bloodline that's in there. Okay. Second finished product there. Fold the skin over. Now what I would do with this, I would bring it back and trim off any excess fin meat. Okay. Just trim the fillet up nice. Same thing here. With excess fin meat off of there. That meat could be used for a lot of things. Fish sausage, fish tacos, mousseline, something of that nature. So it is usable stuff. There's just not that much of it. All right. So finished fillet there. All right. So now ice back on this product so it stays nice and sanitary. All right. I'm going to do a quick sanitize on my table and get a new board out, and then we'll start with chicken. New board. All right. Now we're going to work on some chickens. Keep that one cool. All right, so I'm going to do chicken two ways. One way I'm going to cut it, just a basic 8-piece if you were going to say deep fry it. And then I'll go back and do a airline breast chicken with the Frenched wing joint. Okay. All right, so on this one, first thing I'm going to do is take the wishbone out. The wishbone is sitting right here in the top of the breast where the wing joints attach. So what I'll do is just make a little incision right down the side of that. Take my finger and work underneath that bone. A lot of times they're already broken just from packaging and shipping, which is fine. I just want to make sure I get the pieces out of there. Okay. Then I'm going to turn it around, breast away from me. Then I'm going to cut right down this backbone. Let's get the backbone out of there. Come down the other side. Stabilize it as I go down there. Okay. Cut the backbone out of there. This will be our stock. I'm going to lay this chicken over. All right. Then this is the keel bone that runs right through the center of the breast. I'm going to cut right down the center of that. All right. Then I'll have two halves. Okay. At this point, I'm just going to cut these in half through the skin. All right. Put these back for now. Then on this piece here, you can do it a couple different ways. If you want the wing left on the breast to deep fry, you can do that. But for purposes of having 8 pieces, I'm going to cut the wing off. So we got that joint that's right there on the wing. Just going to lift this up, go right in that cavity, cut that wing joint right out of there. There's my wing section. This will be my breast section with the keel and the rib cage still in for frying. All right, same with this one here. Lift that wing joint up, right behind that joint. Cut it out of there in my wing. And then again, my breast for frying. The leg and the thigh, I'm just going to separate those two. There's a natural fat seam that's in between the leg and the thigh, this little mark right here. If you're not sure and you haven't broken down a lot of chickens, take your knife and just score that fat so you can actually see where that joint is. All right, once you've done enough, you can go through it without having to do that. But while you're practicing and you haven't done it a lot, it's wise to do so. So then I'm just going to take right through that joint, come right across. Then have my leg, and my thigh. Same thing here. Skin side down, find that natural seam. Just make a little mark, lift it up. You can find where it is, right through it. Okay. So then you would have your 2 thighs, your 2 legs, your 2 breasts, and your 2 wings. And then your backbone would be for stocks. Okay? So that's one way to do it. Pretty easy way to break it down with not a lot of time. Excellent for frying if you wanted to braise those pieces. A great way to do it to utilize the whole chicken except the back. Okay? So this one here, we're going to do a little differently. We're going to cut the breast off of the carcass with the wings still on, so we can do a airline breast, all right, Frenched bone. So what I'm going to do, same thing, I'm going to take out the wishbone. Trim a little bit of this excess fat off of here. Okay. Going to sit it up again, make a little notch right down that breast. So you can see where I've made little incisions here. Get my fingers underneath there where I can show you that bone. See it's popping up right there? Okay. Let's pull that out of there. Get in there and twist. Pull it out. Okay. Then I'm going to turn it around. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut right down this keel bone. And I'll show you what I mean. Right down the center of the breast. Right. Until I expose the keel bone, which is right here. I'm just going to take my knife and slowly go all the way down. Always using my blade into the bone, not the meat. Bone is cheap, meat is not. Okay. So I'm just going to roll it all the way down until I come through the back side. Working down this shoulder bone right here until I get out to the fat seam. A little notch on that. And I get down to this joint right here, the shoulder joint. This is the wing joint. It's going to come in there and cut away from me, so I leave the wing joint on. All right, that's what I want to do there. Same thing on the other side. A little incision on the back side of that keel bone. Okay. Again, kind of using my fingers to pull the meat away, so I'm not into the meat too much. Pulling it back, following down the rib cage. Again, until I get down to that natural fat seam. Go through the wing joint again. All right, then my second breast comes off. Okay, so now I've got the carcass intact. All right, so at this point, just cut through this skin here. I'll lift this joint up and just kind of pop the knuckles out of the backbone and where the thigh is. Okay. On the back of the chicken right here, there's a muscle called the oyster. All right, so I'm going to try to get my blade right in that oyster there. Okay, come around that oyster. Lift that up. Then find where that knuckle is. Then go right through the knuckle. Okay. Cut my leg and my thigh off. Same thing on this side. Some of the excess meat out there. Find that oyster, cut through that. Okay. Then this would be trimmed up from some of this excess fat. This would all go into our stock as well. Okay, so nice stock meat there. From this point, I would do the same thing. I'm going to just cut between the leg and the thigh, find that natural fat seam, cut right through there. Okay. It's going to have a leg for that one. Thigh, basically the same principle. Same thing here, lay it over, find the natural fat seam, cut right through it. Right. Another leg joint there. Another thigh product. And then on the breast, we've got the rib cage out, but I'm going to French this bone so it's a better presentation look. Right? So this first joint, second joint, third joint. I'm going to go through this second joint of the wing. Okay? So again, if you're not sure, just make a little score mark there. Then you can pick that up and see that actual spot right there where you're going to cut right through the cartilage. Okay. Cut right through it. This could be used as wing tips or stock. Same thing over here. Make a little score mark. Lift it up. All right, find where it is, the knuckle is. And then right through it. And then from this point, we're going to French these wing joints. So what I do is bring it to the edge of the table. I want to get right below the white cartilage. Okay? And I'm just going to put a little pressure on my knife straight down. I don't want to smack it or force it really hard and take a chance on breaking this bone. And I'll show you what I mean when I get this meat pushed down. Because that bone is going to help me eliminate the potential of shattering the bone. And shattering the bone is never a good thing. If that gets in the product, your guest could choke from that little sliver of bone. Okay. So I'm pushing this down out of the way. But you can see this drum, it's got a nice little white ring around it. Helps to keep that bone intact. Okay, so finished product with the French bone there. Do the same thing here. Bring it to the edge of the table. Get right below the white knuckle. Nice, easy, steady pressure straight down. It is bone, so it is going to crack. But if you're nice and easy with the pressure, it won't shatter. Okay, push the meat down as much as I can. Come back with my knife. Score those little tendons that are still attached. Okay. Push that meat down out of the way. and you have 2 finished bone-in hairline breasts. And I would come back and trim any excess fat off skin for presentation, because this is where you really get a nice presentation look on a dish. This bone will cook. It'll sit straight up. All right, nice clean breast for the guest. Okay. So our 2 pieces here, this could be for frying. We broke it down into a piece. We literally did the same thing here, just a different technique, a different style. Mainly because we wanted to utilize the breast in this particular chicken instead of the whole pieces for frying. Okay. So utilization of all the chicken, the carcass will go into stock. What little skin is left over could go into the stock, or you could just get rid of that as well. All right. All right, well, that's it. That's how to break down flatfish, round fish, and chicken a couple different ways. Thank you.